Hey gang, Anthony Orlando here. Welcome to Film Highlights. Joining me today is filmmaker Augustin Sasarman, director of the upcoming film Storytellers. Augustin, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. This is awesome. I'm glad to be here.
Uh, all right. The big story from you right now is you're working, you're just working on Storytellers. Can you tell us, for those who aren't familiar, what the film is about?
Yeah, of course. So Storytellers is my second feature film I'm working on right now. Currently, the timeline is looking like we're going into production on August 24th. So we're about halfway through July right now. So it's off to the races around this time. The story is about a young director who has big dreams of becoming one of the great directors who gets together with his three best friends in university to make a feature film together. So it's that kind of classic coming of age adventure, four friends going on a crazy journey together. Um, yeah, that's kind of the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, it all sounds really exciting. And so far, you've got like a lot of support online so far. Your crowdfunding campaign on Scene Spark, it's it's made over 50% of its goal towards getting a $40,000 dollar budget. And it's amazing like how much support it's got so far. What are your thoughts on that?
It's been incredible. I was telling my brother the day before it went live. I actually told him, I put so much work into this. If this isn't successful, I don't know what it takes to be a successful campaign. I've just been spending the last couple months doing everything possible to just make sure that it would be a success. Obviously, we're not done yet. Like you said, we're sitting at around 65% funded, I think, and I believe it's day six of no, sorry, it's day seven of the campaign. So it's looking good so far.
Yeah, and for what I've seen from your crowdfunding video, you've already got like a team of actors and crew members and even some producers on there. Like, it tells like how did you get that team together? Like, were they yeah, have you collaborated with them in the past?
No, so actually, I've actually with all my short films and my first feature film I did about 2 years ago, I've never worked with anyone else. I've always just used friends and family as actors and whatnot, and then I was always the only crew member. So bringing on the producers to Storytellers a couple months ago was a crazy experience because that was the first time I was ever, handing my child to another person.
Right.
So that was that was an interesting experience. And but they came on, and part of them coming on, they had a great teams that they worked with before in the past as well. So kind of shortly after that, they brought on our DP for the project, who is incredible. And then yeah, we actually are putting out the casting call in about a week, but I already have one actress attached at the moment. And yeah, bringing on other crew members as the months come on. But it's been kind of going steadily for a few months ago since I brought on the producers.
Yeah, it's all looking really good so far. And now I've been following your the story of you making the film like in the lead up to your campaign. I was wondering if you could tell us more about what inspired you to make Storytellers.
Yeah, of course. So I knew I wanted to make a feature film again. I knew that the first feature film I was going to make was going to be pretty terrible. So I decided to get that out of the way. And that was my, chasing the past when I was 17. And then I decided to just go on right to the next one. Um, and I knew I wanted to do something that I could do, with very little, not some big action movie or anything. But was still exciting. I don't like the idea of sticking to two people in one room kind of thing.
Right.
So I wanted to make kind of like a cool adventure. And I remember watching The Fablemans, and I really loved the filming scenes in The Fablemans. I thought the scenes where they were filming their movie in that movie was like the most fun I've had watching a movie in a long time. I
Yeah.
wasn't a big fan of the movie actually, but the scenes of them making movies was like the coolest thing ever. So I thought, why not do that? And then I also saw American Graffiti, and I loved the kind of group dynamics in there. So I thought, why not do something like that where we've got a group of friends making a movie together, and make that into a cool adventure. And there's obviously kind of I also have like a big affection for an older style of movie, more old-fashioned filmmaking. So that's kind of where the lens of older filmmaking came in. Not only is this actually what the movie is about, but I'm also making it like a more old-fashioned movie, from the philosophy that I'm uh, of my filmmaking while making it. So those are kind of the things that went into, creating the idea and approaching it for the first time.
Amazing. And considering you cite films from Steven Spielberg and George Lucas as your influence for this film, I mean, would you say those are the two filmmakers that have inspired you the most growing up, learning to film?
Yeah, they were both some of the biggest. Spielberg probably has been the biggest, and then right after, or I'll just say like the top who have been the biggest. It's been Spielberg, George Lucas, Christopher Nolan, Walt Disney. And those have been really the main ones. And what I mean by that is not only have I taken inspiration from their films, but their philosophies with filmmaking, their childhoods. I kind of most of the decisions I make in my life come from one of their biographies.
Cool.
But yeah, so I love them. Yeah.
Terrific. And now, from your crowdfunding page, like I know you spoke a lot about like trying to create like a sort of like an old fashioned film that goes back to like the golden age of like with the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s. I mean, so far, I mean, what are your thoughts about like the current state of the industry? I mean, I know like that's a broader topic, but like I'd love to hear your insights on it.
I think I'll kind of zero in on one aspect, the movies specifically, like what are my thoughts on modern films coming out. Um, I am I'm not happy with the movies coming out. I think most of the movies coming out, and there's still a lot of great films coming out, but I think most of them are this is a generalization, but getting pretty dark and kind of losing a lot of aspects of that make films why they're so good. Uh, what I mean by that specifically is, for example, m- most movies nowadays have kind of lost, um, or most directors nowadays have lost their taste in music. You have a lot of movies who kind of are treating music like background nowadays, or that are starting to use or are starting to get away from the classical orchestra. I think, and I will die by this, that the classical orchestra is 99% of the time always the best way to go. And the great music in a film is 50% of the experience. So that's one of the big things I think is missing. But I was scrolling through Netflix the other day with my mom, and every movie was called, the killer this, the killer that, and it's like, okay, well, where's the other side of things? So I often find myself going back to the Disney classics and things like that because that's the type of movie that I love. And talking the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. I think if the classics from those decades came out today, they would be the most successful films coming out by far, I think. And the industry is treating it like, oh, we love those movies, but they're a thing of the past, and we loved them while we had them, but goodbye. And I think that's ridiculous. I think I want to bring that type of movie back with my filmography, and I think a lot of people want to see that too.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I like to see that as well. I mean, and I know in your crowdfunding, you cited the works of composer John Williams as a major inspiration for your approach to making storytellers. Could you tell us more about that?
Yeah, I there's a couple answers to that. One of the answers is I love John Williams, his music, everything about
Same.
him is he's just to me is the best composer of all time. But further than that, I think also, not only do I want to have those kind of soundtracks come back, obviously he's still with us, but he's definitely I mean he's retiring, right? So and still to this day, there really isn't anyone who is kind of filling his shoes at all, not even a little bit. There's many composers that are kind of, you have a lot of people talking about like, oh, this is the next Hans Zimmer, maybe, which I love Hans Zimmer. He's my second favorite. Um, but everyone's kind of going electronic, and I kind of want to go back to that kind of John Williams style, that more old-fashioned classic Hollywood sound. And that's what I want to see in movies. That's why I want in my movies storytellers. Um, and uh, and again, I think it's what people want. I mean, you ask anyone what their favorite score is, most of the time it's one of those big sweeping epic soundtracks. And I think movies are missing that, but hopefully they'll come back.
Yeah, I hope so too. And
Yeah.
now, overall, what would say is your goal with storytellers? I mean, what sort of message are you trying to send?
Um, I've never really thought of messages at all. I mean, the main thing that I want to get out of it is, um, I like to just I want to make movies that are more just entertaining. I really like the type of movies where it makes you think and it makes you question this part about life and blah 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 are great. It has a place, for sure. Some of my favorite movies are like that. But I think personally, the types of movies I want to make are the movies that, by the time that the credits come in at the end of the movie, you're like, oh my God, I forgot I have to go to work tomorrow and I'm actually, you know what I mean? Like you
Yeah,
forget that you were watching a movie. It feels like you were in it. Um, and there's a couple times where I've been really, really sad when a movie has finished, not because it's like, oh, that was so good. It's because like, oh man, I thought I was literally in it. And you're so sad to be out of that world. And so that's the kind of stuff that I want to make. And that's, the message, that I want people to take out, just that experience of watching a movie and not having it tell them like, I feel like every movie has some deep message and says something about politics or whatever. And I just want to make a movie that people really enjoy and love and, want to watch again. So that's kind of the main goal with that.
right. And now, why did you decide to get into filmmaking in the first place?
For me, I didn't have any cool story where I saw a movie and then like I was struck by lightning and then all of a sudden there was a camera in my hands. Obviously I'm exaggerating, but like for me it was very gradual is what I mean. I just grew up loving movies, and for a really long time I just remember wanting to be a part of it. Um and I remember I wanted to be an actor before, like I remember the week before I wanted to be a director. I wanted to be an actor. And I remember being really sad because I thought I was a really bad actor. And I was also pretty shy, so I was like, this is not looking good so far. And and then my brother told me um, that movies don't just make themselves, and there's a guy who makes them. And I was like, okay, well that's what I'm gonna do. And so I started basically making movies that day. And then I kind of just started working from then on. And that was when I was like probably 11 years old or 12 or something.
Wow.
Um, but I have like a few strong experiences where I remember watching a movie and thinking this is the craziest thing ever. But that kind of thing never translated to I'm going to be a director.
Right. Right. I mean,
Yeah.
like, and personally, as someone who studied film, I mean, like, I had like a similar journey. I mean, like, it didn't just happen
Yeah.
like all at once.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
you, I mean, like, you really just like jumped on the bandwagon like at such a young age. Like, and I mean, like you said, this is like your second feature, so and it's pretty
Yeah.
amazing.
Thank you so much. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm very lucky for sure to have found what I want to do really young.
Absolutely. And now, tell us, why do you feel people should get to see Storytellers? I mean, like, why do you think it's a film that has to be made right now?
I think it's a funny question because um it doesn't really need to get made right now. It's not related to some big uh you know you watch you learn from people on the internet or whatever saying, hey, you got to have a big why this now, your movie's got to be related to some big event happening right now or something that makes investors want to jump in right now. And I understand that, but for me, it's like the answer I give people is, well, the industry is just not doing great. Um, Young filmmakers are not where they should be. It's a young men's game run by old men right now.
Right.
It should not be happening that we're still making bets on 80-year-old directors to make, the big bucks for the studios. Like when Ridley Scott a couple years ago made like Napoleon, and then I forget what other huge movie he did. He did like two huge movies back, Gladiator 2, right?
Yeah.
And that was like a big bet, and that was the big thing happening. And he's getting really old, and it's that shouldn't be happening. There should be and the problem is all the great directors kind of came in around the same time, and Hollywood has just been surfing that wave ever since. So there's a big gap for young filmmakers, and so there's a point for why me now, you know. I have, I think, a voice which is very unique. I think a lot of people want to see the kind of older style of films, but not a lot of directors have um, want to have learned to try and make those films. So um that's one of the things that makes me personally unique, and also as a young filmmaker like yourself, it's the time for people like us to come in there. So I think I have a great answer for why me, but for why this film right now, it's just the movie I wanted to make at the moment. Any movie I would have made would have followed that kind of old-fashioned feel that I'm going for. But it was really just I decided like, okay, let's the short film I had made before my feature, because I'm always making short films just for fun, whatever, and or not for fun, just because it's convenient. And the short film I had done right before I started writing up the idea was really dark. It was my Fight Club thing, short
Mhm.
film, and I really didn't like it. I hate that movie, and it's really dark. And I was like, I want to get totally on the opposite side, do something super lighthearted and fun. And so I kind of just landed on that. But anyways, that's my long answer to that.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because like I remember when I was in college, I did like a sort of Fight Club meets the Masters sort of short. I mean,
There you
it wasn't
go.
my best work either, but like it's all part of the journey, you know?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It seems like every young director makes a fighting movie around that time.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't call it like a fighting movie. It's just like a more of just like a dramatic character study.
Okay, yeah, yeah, fair enough, fair enough.
But yeah, I mean, you got to start off somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So that was one of the things which influenced that.
Right. And going back to what you said about like giving more young filmmakers like a shot in the industry, I mean, with the recent films that are coming out recently, I mean, like they're just like tw filmmakers like in their 20s, just like breaking out like into the industry. I mean, with films like Obsession and Backrooms, like it really seems like we got this new wave of young filmmakers like just really breaking ground in the industry. So it really seems like it's a good opportunity for filmmakers such as yourself just to really like put yourself out there, don't you think?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I mean, the big thing that it's doing is well, I think, from what I've seen and from what I've read, but I'm obviously not the I'm not a pro at this subject and not an expert at this subject, but the big thing that it seems to be doing is on the distribution side, and on the financing side as well. Basically, all the facets where filmmakers have to be taken seriously to kind of reach those things. These two guys have really, Curry Barker is like 26, and then Kane Parsons is, I think, 20 or something.
21.
And it's 21, yeah, yeah. And they're getting distributed worldwide. And and they're getting financed at these young ages. And I think that does two really big things. Those are two of the big, gatekeeper, traditionally gate kept parts of filmmaking, the financing and the distribution. I mean, those are two things that you really, for the most part, can't do anything without. And all of a sudden, uh, all these distribution companies, these financiers, investors, whatever, they're seeing this and they're like, oh wow, okay, well, maybe I should take a bet on the young guy too, which is great. You know, I think it's more than anything, because I think the actual impact is in terms of on the industry itself is like kind of nothing. We've seen this happen a couple of times before, and they they're this month's flavor, and then people forget about them. But the cool thing is, it does a mentality shift, you know, because everyone on LinkedIn and their mom is talking about how, oh my God, this is it, this is what we've been waiting for, and I don't think it is, but I think all of a sudden a lot more people are going to be excited to work with people like us. And
Right.
I think that's the great thing. You know, part of my part of my pitch for storytellers has been, and you know, obviously the budgets aren't very comparable and things like that. But you know, you say things like, "Hey, you know, look at what's happening to the young filmmakers right now. People like us can do it." You know, so it's that more of that mentality shift is what I've noticed. Happy for you to prove me wrong or you know change up the way I see it. But for sure, it's doing some huge effects. I mean, everybody is talking about it. Every single person in the industry is talking about it.
Right. And I mean, what you have so far, I mean, like, you were just like building your production just like from the ground up with support just from crowdfunding. And I think it really says a lot of good stuff that you're getting this much support right now. So I'm really looking forward to seeing where it goes.
Thank you. Yeah, because it's been you know, I'm really glad that the crowdfunding campaign is working out so far because uh you know, even though we're talking about, you know, it's going to be easier for young filmmakers to do things. It's been hard, you know. I've been reaching out to a lot of potential investors um and you know, just nothing, right? I mean, I've got a lot of conversations, but nothing past that. Um and it's really hard to do things when you don't have a proven track record. And that's the problem with a lot of us young filmmakers is we're looking for that first opportunity, but nobody wants to be the person to give you the first opportunity. They want to be the one to give you your second opportunity.
Right. I mean,
And so that's tough. And you know, you look at Kane Parsons, who he didn't really make a movie before he made Backrooms. He made a couple shorts, a couple backroom stuff, and then somebody gave him 10 million for his first movie. Um, you know, that's sure it's gonna help with some mentality change, but that's that's rare, you know. That
right.
doesn't happen every day. But yeah, it's no, it's interesting.
Yeah. So, is there anything else you want to say to the fans out there, like, or people like about storytellers?
No, I think well this has been really great. Um, you know, if anyone is interested in following the journey, I am kind of everywhere on social media and whatever, and you know, just kind of documenting the journey. And when the movie comes out, people will know about it, and so that would be my only other thing is if anybody is interested in seeing storytellers come into reality, then they can find me on Instagram or my website or whatever, just by searching up my name.
Right, and I'll be sure to list the See and Spark link to this video once I post it. So, I mean, be
Okay.
sure to like keep an eye out on that.
Okay, wonderful.
Augustin, thank you so much again for sharing all this with me. It was a pleasure meeting you. I mean, and I look forward to seeing where Storytellers goes.
Thank you. No, this was really a pleasure talking with you. Thank you for having me on.
My pleasure. Take care.
You too, you too.